Hello and welcome back to our new video class, high class 5th. So as in our previous video class we seen our topic the happy prince. Yes, so as we completed our happy prince topic, so now this is the time to move on towards our next part. The next part is our next poem. The poem is about wonder thirst. Okay, so this is the poem by Gerald Gold. Okay, so this is the poem which have to be the learning topic to listen to the call of nature and experience its beauty. So in this poem we are going to learn about to listen to the call of nature and experience its beauty. As you can see on the screen, there is the picture of Voyak ship. Yes, so now in this poem we are going to learn about the love towards the nature and experience about its beauty. So let's see. So as you can see here, this is our poem. What is the poem? But first of all I want to tell you who is the poet. The poet is Gerald Gold. Okay, so the name of the poet is Gerald Gold. So first of all I want to share you the information about the poet. So Gerald Gold was born in Norwich in 1885. He studied at University College where he met his future wife Barbara Ireton, the daughter of William Ireton and Hertha Ireton. He was involved in movements associated with several social causes. A socialist by prosecution, he became a member of the Labour Party. He was also well known to be a strong advocate of women's suffrage. In 1907, several left-wing intellectuals such as Gold, Henry Nevinson, Lawrence Houseman, Charles Cobbett, Henry Brailsford, C.E.M. Lord, then Israel Zangwill, then Hugh Franklin and Charles Marcel Moline. There are formed the Men's League for Women's Suffrage. And then in 1909 Gold became a fellow of Merton College at the University of Oxford. Then in the next year he married Barbara Ireton, who by this time was an active member of the Women Social and Political Union. Gold also became a regular contributor to the Daily Herald, a socialist newspaper. The newspaper's name were the Daily Herald. This is the big contributed newspaper as a socialist. Then on 6th February 1914, Gold became one of the founding member of the United Suffragists. During the First World War, he was also a member of the War Propaganda Bureau. Then other eminent members are also there. Then with that men, they agreed to write pamphlets and books that would promote the government's view of the war. After the war, Gold continued to contribute poetry to the Daily Herald. He also reviewed novels for the New Statesman, then eventually moving to the Sunday Observer as fiction editor in 1920. He also worked for the publisher Victor Gollancz and was involved in the publication of books written by George Orwell. Gerald Gold died in 1936. Okay, so this is all about the poet Gerald Gold. So now we have to talk about the wonder thirst. Okay, so first of all, this poem is primarily about the urge to travel and explore every concern of the earth. However, as we will see, it also has a carp time. Meaning of the carp time is says the day theme. Life is a journey for the poet, and he asserts that we must continue on this journey at all times so that no opportunity is ever lost by us. We must live every day like it is our last and take life to be as a gift. Okay, so this is exactly the theme behind the poem Wonder Thirst. So now the setting of the Wonder Thirst is what about? This poem is set in a world of porous boundaries where one can travel from one place to another easily and without any hassles. Travelers need not worry about any crossing international borders without proper documents because there are none. This is the world that has not been fully mapped as yet. This is the world where the sun and the stars do the job of the compass. This is a beautiful world, and the poet wants his fellow men to see all its wonders. Okay, so now we have to go towards the stanza wise explanation, stanza wise summary of our poem Wonder Thirst. So as you can see, here are how many stanzas? Here are 4 stanzas, as you can see here. Okay, and each stanza having the 4 lines, and the rhyming scheme of the poem is AABB. Okay, so now let's go towards the what is exactly having the meaning of these 3 stanzas of our poem The Wonder Thirst. Okay, and this is the poem by Gerald Gold. The first 4 lines of our poem is: beyond the east the sunrise, beyond the west the sea, and east and west the wonder thirst that will not let me be. It works in me like madness, dear, to bid me say goodbye. For the seas call and the stars call, and oh, the call of the sky. Okay, the poem consists of 3 stanzas, as you can see. Each of these stanzas is again made up of 4 lines. Yes, then hence the entire poem consists of 12 lines. How many lines? 12 lines. 3 multiplied by 4 is equal to 12. I am not teaching you math, but just I am telling you how many lines are there. So how many lines are there in our poem? In our poem there are 12 lines, and each stanza having 4 lines, means there are 3 stanzas and each stanza having 4 lines. Hence the entire poem consists of 12 lines in total. This poem is written in the first person. Okay, so hence we can assume that the speaker of the poem is the poet himself. Yes, so the first person pronoun, as we know that we ourselves. Yes, so the person who is writing this poem is the Gerald Gold. Okay, so now the first stanza: beyond the east the sunrise, beyond the west the sea, and east and west the wonder thirst that will not let me be. It works in me like madness, dear, to bid me say goodbye. For the seas call and the stars call, and oh, the call of the sky. So this is our first stanza. In this stanza, the poet describes what he can see before his eyes. Towards the eastern side of the sky, he can see the sun rising at the start of a new day. On the other hand, towards the western side, he can see the waves of the sea. These 2 sides are very unlike each other, and yet they both appeal to the poet equally. The desire to travel in an compulsive as a thirst that must be quenched immediately. The poet calls this desire his wonder thirst. Yes, wanderthirst, and says that the desire is so strong that it always manages to have an effect on him. It does not leave him alone. Instead, it drives him to act like a madman. It makes him say goodbye to everything he has known till then. And to his home, he can almost hear the seas, the stars, and the sky calling out to him to explore them all down to their very last detail. Okay, so this is our first stanza. Now, the second stanza is I know not where the white road runs, nor what the blue hills are, but a man can have the sun for a friend and for his guide a star. And there is no end of voyaging when once the voice is heard. For the rivers call and the roads call, and oh, the call of the bird. Okay, so this is our second stanza. What is the meaning of the second stanza? As you can see in the second stanza also there are 4 lines. Okay, so in this stanza the poet says that he is an inexperienced traveler. He can see a white road and it attracts him attention. He can see a white road and it attracts his attention, but he does not know where that road is going towards. He has perhaps heard or read about hills that look blue from a distance, but he does not know the exact location of those hills. Then, however, his ignorance does not frighten the poet or make him nervous in any way. He knows that he can always look at the position of the sun or a star in order to map out the general direction in which he is journeying. So the sun can be his friend, encouraging him even in the darkness or stormiest night, and the star can act as a guide for him on his way, making sure he does not miss a single sight there is to see. The poet also says that the call of the rivers, the roads, and the birds is a voice in his head, and once anyone hears that voice, he can never stop being a traveler. So this is our second stanza. Now the third stanza again having the 4 lines. Yonder the long horizon lies, and there by night and day the old ships draw to home again, the young ships sail away. And come I may, but go I must, and if men ask you why, you may put the blame on the stars and the sun and the white road and the sky. So again, as you can see here, day, away, why, sky. So these are the rhyming words are here in the last, that is third stanza. Third stanza means the concluding stanza here. So in this stanza, the poet says that he can easily see the horizon if he looks around, and from that horizon he can detect the two-way movement of ships. The first way in which the ships move is to sail back to the land from the sea, and this is the kind of movement one sees in ships that have become old and have made many journeys. The other way in which ships move is from land out to sea, and this is the kind of movement one sees in young ships that have not been operating for a very long time. And similarly, the poets also makes these two kinds of movement. He does come home once in a while, for he has been journeying for years. However, he cannot remain on land for very long, and soon he must go out into the sea again. Men often ask why he still makes such long journeys. The only probable answer one can give on the poet's behalf is that he cannot ignore the call of the stars. He cannot ignore the call of the stars, the sun, the white road, and the sky. All these elements demand that he keep traveling and exploring till he reaches every corner of this planet. So this is exactly about the poem Wanderthirst. I think you people now understood exactly what the poet want to say here. The poet is Gerald Gold, and in this poem the poet talks about the beauty of the nature and the experience regarding the nature, because he were traveling through the voyaging here and there with his ship, and then he wants to enjoy with stars, moons, suns, air, and everywhere. Okay, so this is exactly about poem Wanderthirst. So I think you people now understood. So in our next video class we have to go towards our next part, that is Eureka. Okay, so thank you so much for listening me. Take care, good luck, bye bye, see you in the next video class with our next topic, Eureka.